Way back in the spring of 1990, 10-year-old me was given a $5 allowance. In search of something to spend my money on, I came upon something fantastic at my local convenience store newsstand. It was then that I started a lifelong obsession with the gold standard of sequential art, the comic book. Now, as an old man, I have decided to open up some old boxes and dig into my comic book collection. I decided it's time for me to review and analyze the illustrations and artists that made me comics crazy. Hey everyone, welcome back once again to another episode of Chris Crazy House Presents Comics Crazy. And we are continuing with the Mighty Thor number 417. And we are continuing the story of Thor versus the Stalker from space. And I'm very much looking forward to showing this to you. Let's start off again with the cover. And for this review, just to let you know, we're also going to be doing, this is an original copy from the 1990s. And this is the collected version. So we're going to be looking through both just to show you the comparison of, that old newsprint style of a comic book and, something that's been reprinted where the colors are a lot better done and redone. And we get to see the full beauty of what the story is with the collected version. So I remember buying this off the newsstand. I was pretty much hooked with the Mighty Thor when I got that last issue of 216 where it had like the cosmic horror type cover. And this cover was everything I could have ever wanted as far as being a 10-year-old boy. We got more of the classic cosmic intergalactic space type story that you saw presented in Marvel Comics, made very popular with the artwork of Jack Kirby. And you can see the influence of Jack Kirby with this cover, where you got the character, of Thor standing right in the middle there, one arm kind of coming at you, one arm kind of going back, swinging Mjolnir, and you got the monster, the Stalker from space. And we got a lot of space elements, like you got the Kirby crackles of energy. You got different planetary bodies like moons and stars and planets. And, it just pretty much fits into that whole cosmic look of the story, even though the story pretty much still takes place on Earth once we get inside the book. But just it fits into the whole cosmic horror, cosmic story type. And this is what we come for, and this is what we want when we're young people and we are into fantasy and sci-fi and horror and everything else. We want it all mixed together, and I couldn't tell you how much I love these types of books. So, amazing cover, also done by Ron Frenz and Joe Sano. And we're going to get right in to what happened in the story. Now, when we left off, Eric Masterson was being thrown off the balcony and out the window by his own buddy Hercules after Hercules was possessed by the Stalker from space. And Eric was trying to reach his stick, his walking stick, that will help him transform into the Mighty Thor. And the stick slipped, and we see him falling down here in this opening splash page. And it says, "Only death can save thee." And man, this is a great splash page. This takes you right back to where we were in the last issue. Now, the last issue, it was not a splash page, but we got to see Eric falling down after being thrown out of the window. Let me see if I can get that from the last issue. So here, this was what it looked like in the last issue of him jumping down, trying to get to his stick so he can transform into Thor before he, basically falls on the ground and splatters and dies. But, it kind of ended off in a small panel here with the cliffhanger. And here we are, starting right back up. And like I said, great splash page, great opening. I love the way this looks. As far as being a young artist, just seeing something like this with this type of perspective, it really throws me right back in to where the story left off. And we're going to see a very cool way, a very cool transformation for the Mighty Thor here. This is very cool. And this is something that we all should think about with our own heroes. One of the cool things about having a hero who can transform from a human character to the superhero form is how are you going to have inventive ways for him to transform? And falling off of a building and transforming is a great way to do it. And I thought they were going to do something like that, but they go even further with it. Eric falls down. As he's falling, he grabs onto his walking stick and he actually gets a hold of it and thinks about it like, you know what? This might work, it might not. And he's even saying goodbye to his son, thinking that he actually might die by doing this because he's going to try to strike his walking stick right on the ground as he's falling. And he goes ahead and does it and hits right into the ground and kakoom, big explosion. And everyone probably pretty much thinks he's dead, thinks that he's died. But, you know, that was a big thud for just a man falling from a building. Usually they just hit and splat on the ground, but he went through the ground. And the reason why is because of the power of the Mighty Thor. We see the cracks in the ground and all the people looking around saying, oh my God, this man just fell. But then they start seeing Thor come out of the ground. So it worked. Okay. He hit that stick just right, and he was able to transform into the Mighty Thor. A very cool way to have a, you know, the secret identity transform into the hero in a comic book. And we start right here. The Stalker, he's upset that Thor is back, but he still wants that hammer. So he tells Hercules, you go down there and get that hammer for me. Says, I can't get it. He tried last time to beat up Thor and take the hammer, but it didn't work, so now he's possessed Hercules to go do his dirty work for him. Hercules jumps down. Once again, these are more classic panels. This is not the time of the Image guys. This is like a little bit right before that. They were really just getting started or really becoming more popular at Marvel. But this is more classic storytelling. And I just love this old school style comic book art. I just love the way it shows the action. Even though it's done in small panels, it gets the message across. And the characters and the bodies and the figures are so dynamic. It's done so well. You can tell exactly what's going on in the story. There's no ambiguity or no confusion. So great work done by Ron Frenz and Joe Sano as far as creating these panels. But Hercules jumps off the balcony. He's coming down, and Thor, he throws Mjolnir at Hercules, but not to hurt him, but just so that strap can kind of grab Hercules by the ankle and kind of throw him off course so Hercules doesn't actually hit him. And, you know, Thor is a little worried that he doesn't want to fight his friend, obviously, but he wants to also get rid of the Stalker from space. And right here, we're going to get an amazing splash panel in this story. Look at this. Hercules hitting Thor with an NFL-style tackle. I mean, this is almost like Goldberg doing the spear here, right? He's hitting him hard with that, isn't he? But it's an amazing splash page here. You know, you get the full power of this spear and this tackle by Hercules. Let me see if we can get it from the graphic novel as well. The graphic novel version. Just so you guys can see the full brilliance of all the colors here. But, you know, you see Thor, he's in pain, most definitely. Getting hit in the spine like that must be painful. But especially by a god who's the god of power like Hercules. But even so, even with the figures in the background, like the characters looking on, you get to see the city kind of sprawled out here. But you also get to see like the spectators. And that's one of the things that I always really enjoyed about classic Marvel comics are the spectators. They always included the everyday people just walking through New York City and seeing what's going on. You got a cop and just regular people walking by, seeing this go on and just seeing this brawl happen right in the middle of the street. We're going to continue on. I'm going to go back to the classic issue. Yes, I do have this issue, but the page is ripped here. I don't know what happened. It might have just been an accident or something like that, but part of the page ripped off from this ad here for Iron Sword. And I think that actually is Fabio, if I'm not mistaken, if he actually did the ad for this. where they made him look like a barbarian. But let's keep on going with the action here with this story. And Hercules is putting a serious beat down on Thor, okay? And what happens is he's beating down Thor. Thor doesn't really want to fight back. He's trying to keep his power in check. And then the Stalker decides to take the human woman of Susan, who is Eric Masterson's secretary and assistant and one of his love interests. And as he leaves, that's when Hercules is kind of released from the takeover powers of the Stalker. So Hercules is squeezing Thor to death, trying to crush him, but then he kind of just lets Thor go, and he starts to lose consciousness because he was possessed by the Stalker from space, but now the Stalker has jumped away. And, you know, before he can kind of fall down, his homie Thor picks him up. They go back to the apartment to see what was going on, trying to find Susan, and what Thor decides to do is go after the Stalker from space, and he uses Mjolnir to kind of track him. So this is a power that Thor does have. One of the things I enjoyed about the classic Mighty Thor is he's not just a dumb character. He's also not just a warrior, but he's also very intelligent, and also he's able to use magic. So that's something that you don't see a lot in the MCU movies about Thor. I think they kind of forget about stuff like that, or they were never fans to begin with, but that's just my humble opinion about some of the folks that run Marvel. But, you know, Thor is actually able to use magic, and he uses the magic of his hammer to track the Stalker from space. And, you know, Hercules is not even really aware of what happened to him. He knows he kind of lost consciousness for a time, but he doesn't know he was possessed by this creature. So he wants to go help Thor on his journey here. And Thor agrees. You know, he doesn't want to hurt his friend's feelings, so he lets Hercules tag along by grabbing onto his ankle. So they go flying off. And I'm going to skip this right now because I know it's part of this issue, but this is set up for the Black Galaxy saga, okay? And we got the High Evolutionary. For those who saw the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie, this is the character they were talking about, the High Evolutionary. He plays very much so into the Black Galaxy saga, which I will be doing. So I don't want to get too much into this. Also, there is set up for a story that happens after the Black Galaxy saga, where Thor fights in Asgard. I don't want to get too much into that as well, because that's, you know, deals with Odin and Ragnarok and everything else. We will get to that, okay? But we're going to stick to the story of the Stalker from space, all right? So, moving on, Thor and Hercules, they get to an alleyway and to like a little junkyard, and they're going to find and fight this Stalker from space. But no sooner as they get there, they find out that the Stalker has possessed a whole bunch of people. So not just Susan, the character of Susan's in trouble, but now you got all these other innocent pedestrians who are also in trouble here. And let's take a look at that in the graphic novel version, just so you get a clearer picture of all the people that have been possessed by it. And this is a great panel. This is very well done as far as showing characters, looking at characters from a downward angle, but also on multiple levels. You know, they got characters in front, characters on the mid-level, and characters all the way in the background, the heroes. You can see them being surrounded by all these people who have been possessed by the Stalker from space. And, you know, even right here, you see that Susan, she's looking kind of weird there. Like, you see their faces are kind of like a blank look. And from what happens is, as soon as they get there, Hercules is possessed once again. Okay, because the Stalker reveals that once they become my slaves, that's who they are. They're mine forever. And as soon as they get there, Hercules turns back on Thor again and hits him with a one-hitter quitter. And, you know, that a left-hand punch that damn near knocks Thor into oblivion. Great way of showing action. You see what I'm saying? You see that punch, how it goes through and follows through. And, you know, just the power of it. You don't even really see Thor's head anymore, but just the energy of it coming off that punch. Very well done panel. Very well done. When you think about doing action sequences or fight scenes in your own books, think about classic panels just like this, okay? And Thor is knocked into the middle of all these basically zombie type characters that have been created by the Stalker from space, and they're all piling on to Thor, and he really doesn't want to hurt them because they're really just innocent victims. They're just innocent people, and they've been taken over by this creature, so he fights back the best way he can. Hey guys, if you're someone who likes comics, I got something for you. I got my own comics. Nukkull-Headz. Nukkull-Headz number 1, Nukkull-Headz number 2, and Nukkull-Headz number 3. Okay? So Chris Crazy House does not just do commentary on nostalgic comics. I also make comics. Okay? And these are 3 of my original ones right here. Nukkull-Headz number 1, 2, and 3 that you can buy at my online store. Nukkull-Headz is a story of a little girl named Angie as she goes on an adventure with this pirate group called the Nukkull-Headz as they try to save the land of Dream from the evil realm of Nightmare. Okay, so fun action adventure story. It does center around kids, but you know, it's for the kids out there that like comic books, but also if you're a child at heart, you will enjoy the story. It's a very fun adventure, and you can go get those now at my online store, and I will autograph these books and send them directly to you. So, back to the review. So, in trying not to hurt these people, Thor does not want to use his full strength on these people that have just been possessed by the Stalker. So he uses Mjolnir to create a windstorm to kind of just blow them away. And not to really hurt them, not to actually have to hit them with the hammer, but just to move them to the other side of the junkyard. And we get a little panel here, just a little tidbit of what's happening and foreshadowing what's going to happen at the end of this book, where Eric Masterson's son is stuck at school, and the school is trying to reach Eric or reach his assistant Susan, because she's been helping him with his son, and they can't be reached because Thor is not only fighting this monster, but Susan has been kidnapped by the monster. So a lot is going on here, and it's starting to affect Eric's actual life. So we get back here, and, you know, right back in the middle of the battle, Hercules is actually throwing, looks like a damn trailer or a building or something at Thor. And we get one of my favorite Thor quotes, "Nay, I say thee, nay." Basically saying, no, I'm not going for that. I'm not, and he's saying that because the Stalker says the only way to save your friends and to save these people is to kill them. You know, if they die, then they won't be my slaves anymore. And Thor's not going for it. He's like, I will find a way to save these people. So he strikes his hammer down, and a lightning bolt comes down and destroys that mobile home that was coming at him. And Thor is trying to figure out a way to save these people and get rid of the Stalker from space. So while the Stalker is blinded by that lightning flash that destroyed the mobile home, Thor mollywops him, hits him upside the head, and flings him across and through the air. And Thor raises his hammer again, calling it, you know, Mjolnir is the hammer supreme, and that seems to be hurting the Stalker. Now, the Stalker tries another trick of his by turning into like this like cosmic mist or whatever and surrounding Thor, but he messed up, okay? He miscalculated on this one because, once again, Mjolnir is magic-based, and Thor is able to take that and use it to absorb the Stalker. He swings the hammer, absorbs the Stalker's cosmic mist energy, and then flings him up into space. And this is his punishment for trying to possess these people and harm the people of Earth while they're under Thor's protection. Thor shoots the Stalker from space all the way up through the atmosphere, out of Earth, all the way into the sun. Okay? And they said we hear kind of like the screams of the Stalker, and then they finally grow silent. We don't hear them anymore after they've been flung into the sun. And all the people, they start to wake up from their trance, both Hercules and Susan. And, you know, Thor is a little upset and also worried that maybe something even worse could come from space very soon. Okay, so that's also a preview for the Black Galaxy saga, so be prepared when I do that. So we get back to Eric Masterson's apartment. He's trying to clean up, and Hercules is even trying to help him clean up real quick before the social workers get there, but it's too late. Okay, the social workers have showed up, and his wife's lawyers have showed up, because like I said, he's in a custody battle with his ex-wife right now, and they want to take the little boy away from Eric, and they've kind of tried to say that, you know what, he's an unfit father, and the little boy needs to be living with the mother. And it's a shame. It's a shame because his apartment is destroyed because Eric Masterson is Thor, and he was battling this stalker from space inside his apartment. And I feel bad for him on this one because, once again, I said this in the last issue, I talked about this story where being Thor is actually ruining Eric Masterson's real life. Being bonded with this god is, you know, as a kid, you would think this is cool, but when you have a real life and you have a family, a son to worry about, it's messing up his life. It's also messing up his actual business. So now that the social workers, the teacher, and everyone has seen that, you know, his apartment's all torn up, they think maybe Eric was having like a party in there. And, you know, it's starting to mess up his life where he's about to lose custody of his actual son. And before we fade to black, we get a preview of this other mysterious character heading towards Earth. And that's where we're going to get into the Black Galaxy saga after this. I think there is a fill-in issue about Hercules getting back his confidence where he fights the Wrecking Crew. If you folks want to see me do that one, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button, because I've always enjoyed the Wrecking Crew as villains. But we also get into the Black Galaxy saga next, and that is probably one of the best cosmic type stories that exist in Marvel Comics, especially during the 80s. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this episode of Chris Crazy House Presents Comics Crazy. Once again, we get a chance to take a look at, you know, this original copy from way back in the dark ages of the 90s, the early 90s, like literally 1990 itself. And, you know, like I said, one of my favorite issues of the Mighty Thor. We get a chance to see a cosmic battle between the Stalker from space and the son of Odin. This original copy has a lot of ads in it, as you can see. Also has a backup story. Once again, I'm not going to get into that now because the backup story leads into, once again, another story that happens after the Black Galaxy saga with Thor having to go save Asgard yet again. that seemed to happen every 4 months or so, like where Thor had to go save Asgard. So it's not, that's definitely nothing new for him. But, you know, the way the comic book artists write it, they try to make it seem as if it was something dangerous and something foreboding and something that, you know, was world-shaking and universe-ending. But it seemed to happen an awful lot. Every year or so, Thor would at least have to save Asgard at least once a year. So I hope you folks enjoyed this one. And once again, we will be moving forward with not only the Mighty Thor and other stories with him, but we'll be doing some other comics on this. And I'll have an even special episode of Chris Crazy House Presents Comics Crazy for the 4th of July. So stick in for that one. I will be doing this comic here, Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, number 283. And I think it's very appropriate to do this one for the 4th of July because we got Captain America guest starring in there with Daredevil, and we got Captain America talking about his ideals of why he is America and why he represents America. So that'll be a fun one to do for the 4th of July. But we're going to get that one, and we're going to get some more stuff going on with Chris Crazy House Presents Comics Crazy. So once again, hit that like button and support the channel, and make sure you go ahead and subscribe when you want to see more of these comic book reviews going back into the 90s, going back with that nostalgia and just enjoying ourselves with talking about classic comic books. Anyway, folks, that has been the end of this one, and I hope you folks enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time when Chris Crazy House presents Comics Crazy. Peace.